Good. I'm real happy to see the Haymarket Festival back. It's been on hiatus for some years, and it's great to see it back. And so hopefully we can keep it going. Hopefully we can keep building it. And so just, let's keep coming back every year, and let's keep it going. So I missed Hala's opening speech. She probably talked a little bit about the origins of May Day. And so probably everyone knows that it stretches back to the struggles from the 19th century that we can still learn from. Struggles that we not just can learn from, but struggles that we need to continue, struggles that we need to take up and call our own. So this Haymarket Festival, it comes out of a trajectory from the Haymarket Massacre in Chicago in 1886, when police attacked workers who were making demands for an 8-hour workday. Now the thing is with the 8-hour workday is that at that time, the demand for 8 hours workday was considered a total opposition to the capitalist workplace. It wasn't considered something that the bosses may or may not give to the workers. It was a revolutionary demand. Employees, their labor was extracted from them without limitations, without regulations, as much as possible. 15-hour work days. If you ever get a chance to go to New York City, go visit the Tenement Museum and see what immigrant workers did before the 8-hour workday. Now, when you think about the 8-hour workday today, you might think, well, maybe the origins of May Day are about better wages and working conditions. But in fact, 8 hours workday in the late 19th century was not about better wages and working conditions. It was in opposition to the whole system of life governed by the logic of capital. People saying we don't want our whole lives to be ruled by the logic of capital. We want 8, 8, 8. 8 hours of work, 8 hours of play, 8 hours of rest. All right? 8 times 3 is 24. So only 1/3 of our lives, governed by the logic of capital, was a revolutionary demand. So if you take a look at the history of May Day, International Workers' Day, you see that it comes from immigrants, from anarchists, from communists, socialists. It comes from revolutionaries, and it's about revolution. So I thought, what I would do here this afternoon is I'd present a few ideas from earlier May Day speeches that still speak to us today. A little bit like Ted's wonderful performance of August Spees, which, by the way, we're in Illinois. You can go visit some of these people. You can commune with their spirits. If you go up to Chicago, outside Forest Home Cemetery, I go there whenever I can. If I can get there, I go there. Lucy Parsons is there. August Spees, the big monument, is there. Raya Dunayevskaya, Emma Goldman, dear Emma Goldman. There she lies. So what I thought I would do is I take the speeches of 2 revolutionary communist women and 1 Ukrainian anarchist and see if we can't learn something from them. Okay, so let's start with Eleanor Marx, youngest daughter of Karl and Jenny Marx, a family of revolutionaries. What a family. That's a good family. Okay? Eleanor Marx, 1890, on the occasion of the very first May Day, the first May Day, she said, "We have not come to do the work of political parties." She said, We believe that the 8-hour day is the first and most immediate step to be taken, and we aim at a time when there will no longer be one class supporting the others. This is only the beginning, she said, of the struggle. We must speak for the cause daily, she said, and make the men and especially the women we meet come into the ranks to help us. Close quote. That was Eleanor Marx. Now, a few thoughts on that. First of all, May Day was for the expressing of what does not come through major political parties, for what doesn't go through them. So here in the U.S., we don't speak on May Day for Democrats or Republicans. We don't speak as representatives of what bell hooks called white supremacist, imperialist, capitalist patriarchy. We shouldn't speak on behalf of that on any day, not just on May Day. We create space for a critique of all of that. We have to create space and time for a critique of all of that. The 8 Hours movement was about the reclamation of space and time for the flourishing of being human, the flourishing of the human being. It was about human flourishing and human development and human becoming. How can we become what we ought to be? How can we become what we want to be if we don't have 888? But today, we should think about that lesson, because we give away too much of our time without thought through screen-mediated lives that offer our employers total access to us at all hours of the day. All hours of the day, we give it away. May Day was also for gathering people for hopeful horizons and rival visions, and that's one of the things that's great about the Haymarket Festival. We gather for hopeful horizons and rival visions. And Eleanor Marx also, let us not forget, notes the special importance of bringing women into revolutionary movement. Women into revolutionary movement. And women have experiences and perspectives that we can't get without them, because we live in patriarchal societies. We live in sexist and misogynistic societies. So what women have shown us, especially revolutionary women, like Rosa Luxemburg and Eleanor Marx and Emma Goldman and so many others, is that we can't get those perspectives without them. Women have showed us, and today, trans women too. Listen to trans women. Trans women too. We have a lot to learn. All right, so now let's go to one of my favorite fierce fighting women, Elizabeth Gurley Flynn. You know where she is? Up in Forest Home Cemetery. You can go visit Elizabeth Gurley Flynn. Now we're going way ahead now to May Day of 1941. Elizabeth Gurley Flynn. Listen to her on 1941 May Day. Quote, May Day traditionally celebrates victories won, makes new demands, presses forward slogans of immediate action. 10 million organized workers in America today, and more to come. Skilled and unskilled, black and white, native and immigrant, man and woman, young and old, shoulder to shoulder. Let the warmongers shout, let the prophet mad rave. We shall not be moved, retort these millions of American workers on May Day, against all imperialism and fascism, including American. Lower the cost of living, resist wage cuts and longer working hours, free all fighters against imperialist war, end Jim Crowism and anti-Semitism. Peace and socialism, she said, are in the hearts, in the minds, on the lips of millions around the world. May 1st, 1941. The sun of tomorrow shines upon us. The future is ours. Close quote. Wow! Gurley Flynn. That was one fierce fighting woman. And she was a communist, and she was a revolutionary. Now, you can see that she spoke in 1941 about racism. She spoke about fascism. She spoke about anti-Semitism. She spoke about classism. Gurley Flynn was an early radical feminist. She was a member of the IWW, the Wobblies. You heard of the Wobblies? On my shirt here today is Lucy Parsons. She was in the Wobblies. You know where Lucy Parsons is? Illinois. Buried. Forest Home Cemetery. We need to sometimes go and commune with the spirits of our comrades.
Commie field trip.
Commie field trip. So now she thought a lot about sexism and patriarchy. Remember in 1941, segregation was alive and raging. Remember that the United States had no position against fascism in 1941. The United States did not enter the Second World War until December of that year, and it wasn't to fight fascism. They had no problem, this country, none, with fascism in Spain in 1936, when people in this country, anarchists and communists, wanted to go and take up arms against Franco. The U.S. government said, no, you're not allowed to go. And a lot of the women, they said, well, we're nurses. We're just going to go and provide. We need to help because there's a civil war in Spain. So they made their way in and they took up arms against Franco. Fierce fighting women. Those communist and anarchist women like Gurley Flynn. Now, it is a horrific fact that we have to today continue to stand up still against all these things, against racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, classism, and fascism. But they're not only here, they are resurgent. We cannot reform them out of existence. We cannot reform them out of existence. Slavery could not be reformed into a kinder, gentler institution. What would you want? Would you want the abolitionists to have said, let's just make slavery kinder to the slaves? No. We need abolitionist movements. We need what Angela Y. Davis calls abolition democracy.